Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Mati Prade Devi Sajavachaya Namo Namaha
Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachaya
Pranay Hai Tulsidevyai Priyai Hai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sajavachaya Namo Namaha
Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachaya Namo
Pranay Hai Tulsidevyai Priyai Hai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Sajavachaya Namo Namaha Jai Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jai. Okay, class. Haribol. Oh, Krishna. Jai Ram Madhava Kunnavi Hati Paramahansa Parvadikacharya also tell us that Shrimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chalana, the Bhaktivedanta, Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON, Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti, Vaishnav Ki Jai, Tamacharya, Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Say Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Radha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopa Gopinath Saya Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagadasami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda. All gloriously assembled devotees. All gloriously assembled devotees. All gloriously assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurmani Pacharni Nivasesha Srinivadi Pasyatya Dejatani. All right. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, text 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Madhashraya Kata Mrishta Shinvante Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vividas Tapa Naitan Mad Kata Chetasa Mad Ashraya Kata Mrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vivithastapa Naitan Madgata Chittasaha Madashraya Kata Mrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vivithastapa Naitan Madgata Chaitasa Madashraya Kata Mrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Naitan Madgata Chaitasaha. Okay.
Madashraya Katamristha Shinvanti Katayanti Cha Tapanti Vividasthapa Naitan Madgata Chetasha
Madashraya Kathamrishta Shrivanti Katayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Naitan Madgata Chetasaha
Madashraya Katamristha Shinvanti Katayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Naitan Madgata Chetasaha
Ladies.
Madhashraya Katamrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Naitan Madgata Chetasa Madhashraya Katamrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Naitan Madgata Chetasaha
Madhashraya Katamrishta Shinvanti Kathayanti Cha Tapanti Vividhastapa Vividhastapa
Tapanti vividhastapa
Naitan Madgata Chestasa
Naitan Madgata Chetasaha
Okay. Mad Ashraya. About me.
About me.
Kata. Stories. Mishta. Delightful.
Delightful.
Shrinvanti. They hear. Katayanti. They chant. Cha. And. Tapanti. Inflict suffering. Vivida. Various. Tapa. The material miseries. Na. Do not. Etan. Unto them. Madgata. Fixed on me. Chetasa. Their thoughts. Translation: engage constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of God, and the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are multifarious miseries in material existence. Those pertaining to the body and the mind, those imposed by other living entities, and those imposed by material or natural disturbances. But a sadhu is not disturbed by such miserable conditions because his mind is always filled with Krishna consciousness. And thus, he does not like to talk about anything but the activities of the Lord. Maharaj Ambarish did not speak of anything but the pastimes of the Lord, of a Chamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvardhane. Srimad Bhagavatam 9:4-18. He engaged his words only in glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sadhus are always interested in hearing about the activities of the Lord or His devotees. Since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, they are forgetful of the material miseries. Ordinary conditioned souls, being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. On the other hand, since the devotees always engage in the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. So again, back to the verse. Marashraya kata mrishta shrivanti kathayanti cha tapanti vividhastapa naitan madhukata chetasa. So, Om Gana Tiviranda Shah, Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshu, Unmeditam Yeda Tasmai Shigurave Maha. So, as I've often mentioned, talked about before, that suffering is actually caused, and of course, as I've made reference to Buddhism, suffering is caused by attachment. When you're attached to something, you suffer. And if you're not attached to something, you don't suffer. Whether it's an object, whether it's your body, whether it's another person, it doesn't cause any suffering if you're not attached. So the question is, how to give up the attachment? And there's many different paths that are prescribed, not by the Vedic literatures, of course, but by other people to give up. Of course, in Buddhism, you have the right living, right thinking, etc., like that. In other words, supposedly cultivating the mode of goodness. Now, that doesn't really alleviate the suffering.
Yeah.
It may alleviate some of the bad karma, so it may minimize the suffering, but it doesn't alleviate the suffering. Because the only way you get it, because ultimately, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam. The nature of this material world is birth, death, disease, and old age. Apart from Adhyatmic, Adibodhic, and Adidaivic miseries, which are mentioned here. Adhyatmic means miseries from your body and mind, Adidaivic from the material energy in general, and Adibodhic is all these other little devotees. All the other people. You know, it's like if you go to work, you have all these people who are challenging you, and sometimes you have to review by the government, right?
Yeah.
So that's adibodhic miseries. So there's nothing you can do about it. That's the nature of the world. And sometimes people think, well, I became a devotee, so why do I still get sick? Why do I still get old? Why do people turn against me? Well, because that's the nature of the world, and that's Krishna's arrangement to teach you don't belong here. Just like in the prison house, you may ask the question, why is it so miserable in here? Because we want you to reform yourself, you rascal. That's why. So the material miseries are necessary. Someone may ask, okay, here's a question some people ask. If Krishna loves us so much, why doesn't he make the material world free of miseries? Well, the point is that the ultimate miserable situation, condition, is to be separated from Krishna. So even if you didn't have adhyatmic, adhibodic, and adhidaivic miseries, like, for example, in the heavenly planets, you don't have much of those miseries. Still, you'll be miserable because you won't be with Krishna. Without Krishna, without being in contact with Krishna, your loving propensity, your whole consciousness will not be happy. So the whole point is, if you're not happy, you're miserable. So even take away birth, death, disease, and old age. Take away other living entities. Take away the material energy. Still you're miserable because you're separated from Krishna. So, therefore, reflecting on a verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which actually pretty much says the same thing as this verse, and it's like the nutshell verse of the 10th canto. Anybody know that verse? Nivritta tarshar ubhagiyamana pavoshana shotra mano viramat ka uttama shloka gunandavadat puman virajeta mana poshuknat. What does that verse say? Nivritta tarshar. If we want to get rid of nivritta tarshar, the miseries, upagiyamana, you have to engage in hearing and chanting. Vavoshana shrotra mano viramat. And it's very pleasing to the mind, the hearing and chanting about Krishna. And of course, we hear in the association of devotees, as pointed out by Lord Kapila further in this chapter, Satam pasangam mamavirya sambaro bhavanti ridkarna rasayana kata tajoshana ashu apavarga vartmani shuddha ratir bhakti anukramishati. We hear in the association of devotees. What's on the mobile phone? So interesting.
Just taking some notes.
Oh, taking notes, okay.
Yes, sorry.
That's nice. I have an AA assistant who does the same thing. You can be replaced by anyway.
Just taking notes. Yeah.
Okay, so Nivritta Tarsha. So so Lord Kapila says further in this chapter that the most potent type of hearing is a tam prasangam, in the association of devotees. If you really want to have potent hearing, you hear in the association of devotees. Satam, pure devotees. Prasangam. Mama virya samvara, about Krishna's heroic activities. Bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. That medicine, the rasayana, will go from your ear to your heart. Bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. In this way, you will progress through the various stages of devotional service. They'll follow one after the other. And I think you all know those stages. Ado, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhusango, Ta, Bhajana, Kriya. You think you know that? In the beginning, there's interest, a preliminary faith. Then you begin to associate with the devotees. Then you begin to do what the devotees are doing. Bhajana, Kriya. And then gradually you get rid of the anarthas in the heart, anartha nivritti shat. And when you get rid of the anarthas in the heart, you become steady, nishta. 24 hours a day you become nishta. Not just that you have good sadhana and the rest of the day you're like Ravan. So, nishta. And then when you have nishta, you're steady, then you get a ruchi. Ruchi means a taste. Goranga balite habi. Pulaka shadir. Hari hari. Naine bhave near. That every time you hear Lord Chaitanya's name, you feel ecstasy. Right now, we don't experience like that, right? Like everybody's just sitting there, just saying, Goranga, and everybody's going, oh. But that's, just like when we were with Prabhupada, sometimes Prabhupada would look at the deities, and I remember in Atlanta, Georgia, and also in Caracas, Venezuela, when Prabhupada visited, Prabhupada, Paramakarana, Bahudvijana, Prabhupada would look at Gaur Nitai, and he would start to chant the song, Paramakarana, Bahudvijanam, Nitai Gaurachandra, the most merciful lords, Paramakarana, Bahudvijanam, those two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, and then Prabhupada went into trance for like 5 minutes. And other times, I mean, when I was sitting or standing behind Prabhupada when he was giving class, I could notice Prabhupada always had tears in his eyes when he was chanting Jai Radha Madhava. It wasn't just like we may chant Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Okay, Jai. But Prabhupada, you know, there was always bhav with Prabhupada. But, you know, if I have tears in my eyes right now, it's because I'm sick. It's not a symptom of ecstasy. But anyway. So we get Ruchi. And then after Ruchi, you get Ashakti. You become completely attached to Krishna. Then you get Bhava, the emotions, and then after that, hopefully, you come to the stage of Prema. So this all occurs step by step. And so the point is, if we want to bring people other than ourselves, of course, charity begins at home. We should think about our own sadhana before we think about other people's sadhana. But if we want to bring, we have to simply expose people to the pure chanting and hearing. It's not difficult. And whatever means, whatever trick, whatever you have to do, get people to chant. Like we were talking about yesterday, that Lord Chaitanya would trick people by crying. He tricked the Buddhists when their chief Buddhist was knocked unconscious. He tricked people to chant. Because once you start chanting, or he tricked Jagai Malai by threatening them with the Sudarshan Chakra. Do you think Jagai Malai would have surrendered to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if he came up to them after they hit Lord Nityananda and said, please don't do this anymore. Be nice. No. Lord Chaitanya had to pull out his Sudarshan Chakra, a threat. But sometimes some people do have to hear about Yamaraj. Get a little fear of God. Fear of God. So anyway, so that's our business. And we find that when we can expose people to the pure chanting of the holy name, then their hearts change and they become devotees and they become attracted. But that verse, the verse I was quoting from the first chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, says something very interesting, the last line. Human vidajeta vina pashugnat. The only people who are not going to get attracted are those who are killers of animals. So we got a real barrier there when preaching Krishna consciousness. You know, how do we get them? Because their brains, their consciousness is so much contaminated that they won't appreciate the chanting of the holy name. So it's a real challenge in preaching Krishna consciousness. So of course, at the same time, we don't want to just preach about vegetarianism. Prabhupada didn't like that. So we get them to chant, and then they won't get a taste right away, but they will actually give up eating meat. They'll get the realization. And when they get the realization, then they get a taste. Then the threefold miseries go away. Puman virajeta banal poshugnat. Those who are killers of pashus, animals. And sometimes the acharyas translate that verse as killers of the soul. they cannot really appreciate the holy name. So anyway, so the point is, satam prasangama mafir sampara, for those of us to hear congregationally with each other and to engage others in hearing the pure chanting, and that is our Krishna conscious movement. So we'll keep it short this morning, not feeling too energetic. So anybody have any questions? We can answer your questions. Yes?
The translation said the cause of the suffering is because of attachment.
Yeah, of course the reason we're suffering in this world is because we're attached. So the way to conquer that attachment, sorry, I didn't really deal with that particular point, is to get attached to Krishna. Or to identify, let's even drill down on that a little bit more. Because of that attachment, we have these upadhis. Upadhi means designation or identification. So we're identifying with the body. But if we stop that attachment or stop that identification, so the only way to do it is to change your identification. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated, Jivera Swarupohoy Nitya Krishna Das. Or like that verse, I don't remember that verse right now, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Saja Koranoi. This is a really important verse. And it's a verse that somehow or other people have made controversial.
Yeah.
You have these people who are not part of Islam, who are so-called squalors, I'm mispronouncing it properly or deliberately, and they think that they can understand Jiva Goswami and other acharyas, and they criticize Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and also Bhaktivinoda Thakur's understanding. Because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very much stress this point, that Krishna consciousness is inherent, and the process of bringing people to Krishna consciousness is simply waking them up. And it's interesting, and that applies to everybody. But it's interesting, if you go to certain other sampradayas, they have different opinions. In the Madhva Sampradaya, or at least the Tattvavadi branch of the Madhva Sampradaya, they think that there are some souls that are inherently bad. I've met some of them. No, not really. That's against our philosophy. Every soul, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, has Krishna Prem built in. It's not something you get. Saja Koranai. I probably gave the example that to wake you up in the morning, there's a sound vibration, there's an alarm clock, or a mobile phone, as the case may be. Probably never said mobile phone. There's a sound vibration that wakes you up, and then you remember who you are. Like last night I had a dream. I was in India, and we were going to see some temple, and I was pretty ecstatic. Then all of a sudden, I had to wake up. And I remembered, oh my God, I'm here in Australia, and I have a cold. Oh my God. So anyway, Prabhupada compared that waking up in the morning and remembering who you are, or waking up from amnesia, to becoming Krishna conscious. I mean, it's a very important aspect of our philosophy. So the holy name, Cheto Darpana Marjana. I mean, exactly, that's what the first verse of the Shikshashika says, Cheto Darpana Marjana, Bhavalahad Bhakti Rapanam, Shelakara Vichandrika Vitaranam, Vijavadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Pratibadam, Punamritas Vadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam, Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So when you chant the holy name, all glory is to the holy name, it cleanses the dust that we've been accumulating for many, many births, millions and trillions and quadrillions of births, and on the mirror of the heart. The heart is like a mirror. Right now, if you have a dirty mirror, For example, if you take a shower and you turn on the hot water and you try to enjoy too much in this material world, you won't be able to see yourself. All you see is just like whatever on the mirror. So it cleanses the mirror, often use the example of cleaning the glasses. So then you're able to see reality. You're able to see yourself. Hey, ultimately, hey, I'm a coward boy. Hey, I'm a gopi. Hey, I'm parent of Krishna. That's there. Your spiritual, Nandamoy, your spiritual identity is there. And pure devotees can see it, but you can't see it. Do you know it? Oh, you know your spiritual identity. Okay. That's good.
Well, in the previous years, Guru used to give Sita Deha or Sita Pranali.
Yeah, but that's not our process.
Something I'm ready to hear, but that wasn't.
That's not our process. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, during that time there was Sita Pranali. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stopped that process being done in our Sampradaya. So anyway, Cheto Darpana Marjam, the mirror of the heart becomes cleansed. Bhava Mahadvagni, in fact, the fire of material existence becomes extinguished. Mahadvagni Nirvapanam. And there's many different translations, like Chandrika Vitardhanam, the white lotus, good fortune. Anyway, I'm not going to give the whole translation. But the point is, Nityasita Krishna Prem, Sajakota Noi. That Krishna consciousness is there, Sajakota Noi. And then Shravanadi, it's woken up by hearing. It's the same thing as this verse says, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitte. And by hearing, you get Shuddha Habimana, or Shuddha Chitte, which means pure mind, or pure consciousness, or pure heart, actually. To be more precise, Chitte would mean like the heart, consciousness. Not so much like just mind, but Shuddha Chitte, one Koreye Udoy, one gets it. So that's our process. We don't have to do something artificial imposition on the mind. We simply have to get people to chant and hear and give up eating meat. Because that is the greatest detrimental factor. The eating of meat. Because if you're harming other living entities, showing a lack of compassion, you will never be able to understand. Prabhupada said, you have a meathead.
Meathead.
Meathead, anyone who's a meathead. All right. Yeah.
But then you may try and stop eating meat and do all that. But
Yeah.
to what extent the large karma plays a part that again comes back to my original questions, do we ever have a chance if your past karma is so bad?
No. No, I mean, is that our philosophy? That may be the philosophy of the Tattvavadis, Madhvacharya's, some of Madhvacharya's followers. But our philosophy is Dinahina Yatachilo, Harinam Udalilo. Whether you're fallen, whether you're elevated, if you take the chanting Hare Krishna, our philosophy is Namavas chanting. It gets rid of even Prarabdha karma. Kuta, Bija. What Kuta means? No.
See?
No, Bija is seed. Kuta is like inclination. It actually means where from, but it's like an inclination. There's the Kuta, the inclination to enjoy this material world.
Right.
Then there's the Bija, the seed of a particular type of enjoyment. Just like if I tell you about a nice car, you should get a Tesla.
Yeah.
I put a Bija in your heart.
You've done it good. It's initially was scooter.
And then anyway, there's the aparada, parabda, aparada, parabda, etc. So right now, whatever we have, let's say our body and circumstances, that's all our parabda karma. Well, if we're devotees, it's not parabda karma. But for someone who's not Krishna conscious, it's their parabda karma, the present karma. But by chanting according to Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then chanting even Namabas, all these different karmic factors can be dissipated. There's no impediment. Haituki pratyata, yatma suprasidate. What does that mean? Savai pumsam paradharma yata bhaktiya hoksaje. Haituki pratyata yatma suprasidate. That this Krishna consciousness is the topmost dharma. Savai apumsam paradharma. What is that paradharma? Yato bhakti hoksaje. To perform bhakti in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that bhakti, ahaituki, there's no material cause. And that, there's two ways to understand that. One is in terms of a description of a pure devotee. There's no material reason why he's serving Krishna. Or like the gopis. The only reason, the only payment they got for serving Krishna was more service, was their bhakti. The haituki pratyata, and it doesn't stop under any condition. You can look at it that verse that way. Another way of looking at the verse is there's no haituki, there's no material cause. And the Acharyas describe that verse in two different ways. There's no material cause to pure devotional service. In other words, you don't have to be born in a high-class family. You don't have to have good samskaras. Not required. Although it may be helpful to have good samskaras. But you simply have to have satam prasangam mama virya sambhara, the association of devotees. Okay? What's that?
But then, like,
Why are you not Krishna conscious?
because I'm a sad case.
You're a sad case.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, look at Kolabhaja Sridhar. I mean, like, he was, all he was doing is taking a banana and leaf, making it up, and that bhav he had. There's no chance, I mean, I can get to that.
You don't have faith in the process of Krishna
I
consciousness?
have faith, but it's just, I mean, just look at Ayanda Prabhu. What he said is, when you're doing the chanting, your last round, you should sort of like cry for help. That bhav, until you get...
Sounds like you're crying for help.
No, I'm crying for help because not chanting.
Yeah, so you have the right bhav, so. You're saying, I will never get it. That's actually a good sign.
11 o'clock at night, I'm struggling with not chanting Maharaj. I mean, like that.
That's a good sign. You're admitting it. Most of the devotees are saying, I'm chanting pretty good rounds. I got my rounds done now, I can do any damn thing.
It's just a formality and duty that I've promised my guru that I'll do it. It's just...
Yeah, but you're lamenting. Prabhupada said lamentation means purification. Just the fact that you're lamenting like that, right? And you're lamenting publicly in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And that's how even the acharyas, you must be an acharya. So anyway, the acharyas lament that I have no taste, like in Rupa Goswami's statement about Ashabandha. You know Ashabandha? Ashabandha means hope against hope, according to Srila Prabhupada's translation. In other words, hope against hope means we have faith that even though, according to Rupa Goswami, I have no taste for anything to do with Krishna consciousness, especially the process or the processes of hearing and chanting. But I have great hope. And this is a beautiful verse in the Nectar of Devotion. That Krishna, let's see if I remember exactly, Krishna Gopi Jana Vallabha. I'm paraphrasing it. You will accept me. So our hope, our faith is not in us. I mean, I don't have any faith in myself. I have faith in Srila Prabhupada. And so I can hear from your words, you have faith. And that's the point. Yasha Devi Pura Bhaktir Yata Devi Tata Kuru Tashate Yatikat Yata Prakashante Mahatmana. If one has faith in the words of the spiritual master, if one has faith in the Vedic literatures, then things are revealed to them. And you're doing quite well.
Okay. On the other hand,
On the other hand, what's the other hand?
well, it's different. I'm changing the topic now. A person born in the Western Sydney, on the TV, there's an episode called Struggle Street. They are eternally, like, generation after generation, they are into, not gold grudges, dole, drugs, just generation after generation.
Yes.
They have in the Struggle Street. And then they say they can't break out of that. So how do
Krishna Consciousness can break them out of it. Like Prabhupada said, we should go into the prisons. It'll help people break out of that recidivism. Recidivism means again and again and again. They keep coming back. Prabhupada says we have the solution. I mean, not only this particular street or those particular whatever, maybe Aborigines or something like that. But we find, let's take alcoholism, for example. Have you ever gone to an AA meeting?
I've seen on TV, but no, I don't know.
You know what they are? So the philosophy of the AA meeting is once an alcoholic,
Always not.
always an alcoholic. Okay. So, because they don't cure it. It's true. Actually, what they're saying is absolutely true. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, unless you take up some spiritual path. So therefore, in order to avoid them getting drunk or connecting with alcohol again, they have this support network, right? And so if they feel like, if I was a member, which I've never drank, so it's no problem. So, let's say hypothetically, I felt this urge. I went into Abhay Chaitanya's house and I saw the bar there. He doesn't have a bar. Actually, one time, I visited a friend. I had a friend who did Govardhan Parikrama with me, and he lived in Delhi. Anyway, it's a funny story, funny guy. And so he invited me. He says, I'm near the airport. You can stay at my house. So I come in and I see this big liquor cabinet, and I said to him, "What's the liquor cabinet for?" He was in real estate. He said, "I don't drink, but it's necessary for my business." And that's in India. I was just like shocked. And then I told him, you give it up and you chant Hare Krishna, and Krishna will... He wasn't ready for pure devotional service, so I said, Krishna will bless you. I think I've told a story about him before. I said, if you come with me on Govardhan Parikrama, Krishna will bless you, even with material things. So he was more enthusiastic than me in Govardhan Parikrama. 24 hours a day, I would do my parikrama. Okay, I'm tired now. Time for prasadam. But he would keep going all night long like that. So, eventually he got his PR to go to New Zealand. And now he's in Dubai enjoying life. Simply chanting Hare Krishna. Yes, so we can say that. Chanting Hare Krishna. So, anyway, so let's take the alcoholic. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And unless one purifies his heart, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. But the only process for purifying the heart, because the reason the heart is impure is because of our lust. Kama Esha, isn't it? Krodha Esha Rajaguna Samudra. And our bad association. The only way is to have good association and chant Krishna's holy names. And I've seen so many people give up bad habits. I mean, look at the people that Prabhupada preached to in the beginning. Including me. Why? I wasn't eating meat, but other people, like Prabhupada, one place Prabhupada went to preach, and I'm not going to mention any names, but he went to a nudist colony to preach. You probably know about this. And great devotees came out of the nudist colony. Can you imagine? You go to a nudist colony, everyone's walking around. Haribol Swamiji.
Oh dear.
One time, I never went to the nudist colony, but one time I went to this thing called the Rainbow Festival to try to preach. because some of my godbrothers said it's really good preaching there. So, okay, I said, okay, let me go. So I went and I was practically throwing up the whole time, seeing everybody walking around like that. But you had people, Prabhupada preached in the Bowery, practically one of the lowest class places in America. And to intoxicated people. And look at the people who came out of it, many of the people. Some people reverted back because they didn't continue their bhakti. So, look at the example of all these people who gave up everything. Like even in my family, multi-generational, we were all just like business people or rich or something like that. Look at me, I changed. Right? No, we didn't have any drunkards in my family. And just wealthy people and business people and doctors and whatever. And some of my family members had horrendous occupations. My grandfather, we used to sell the pelts of animals. Pelts, the fur.
Oh, fur, okay.
I would go into a shop. It was high class Rakshasa. Because you go into a shop, and there are these the ladies like not only the fur, but they had these fox coats, and there was the head of the fox on it. So that's my family. McGrary the hunter. Isn't it? You know the story of McGrary the hunter? Of course, we weren't half killing animals. So that's the background I come from. And look at, of course, I didn't do it. I was disgusted with it. But my mother loved it. She said, oh, my new fur coat. Imagine Malachis, walking around. It's like Aborigines again, isn't it? Probably sometimes called the Americans the white Aborigines. So, anyway, there's proof. And you have good samskaras. You're practically your whole family devotees now, isn't it? Practically the whole family. He has the largest family in Fiji. They're not all his children. That's not what I'm saying. But his grandparents were his parents, grandparents. They're all Vaishnavas. Whenever I run into someone in Fiji, do you know Anandamuni? That's their claim to fame. They're relatives with Anandamuni. So anyway, there's hope, and we see so many examples, in the Shastra, Magrari, and then so many, Jaga and Madai. And anyway, so we have to have faith. And you have faith. I'm preaching to the choir with you. Because you actually have faith, you have the right mood. In spite of all my chanting, I have no taste, you're lamenting. And that means you'll get Krishna's lotus feet. Because you're not complacent. You're lamenting that I'm not able to chant properly. So, good question. So, any other questions? Yes.
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances, Gurudev. Gurudev, over these few days, we've heard some really good words that strike our heart, like you talked about inherited and inherent.
Yeah.
You talked about how we can't make devotees, we can only facilitate devotees.
Mm-hmm.
One of our devotees would come to have a darshan. While she was leaving, she was in tears. She was really happy that she was able to get your darshan. And she's really good devotee, but how do we show, can we as initiated devotees be impatient and say, don't miss the opportunity, just do something about your chanting? Are we allowed to be impatient and say...
it requires discrimination. You know how much. Generally, you should try to figure out how much you can get away with each person. It's like anything, like Krishna Leela is going out and trying to get money for the temple. squeezing people. Sorry, and she's at the fundraising dinners. It's just like, Corey, give more. We know you can give another 50 cents. Nectar, you know, she's a real expert. So, but she knows how much she can get away with. Right? So people don't convince and to gradually, gently push people like that. Otherwise, people go in the opposite direction because, again, people, devotees, non-devotees, everyone has a need for autonomy to make his own choices in life. And that's one thing with the ABCDs that you parents have to understand. You have to respect your children's autonomy. You can chant or not chant, it's all right with me. Because our love for you is unconditional. Whether you chant or become a demon, we will always love you. So conditional love is the worst thing you could do to a child in any case. And you know, just like when I was young, of course my mother didn't want me to chant. She would say, if you use the phrase, if you love me, or if you love me, you would fill in the blanks. And I'm sure some of you have used that with your children. Have you used it?
Yeah, we have. Very much.
That's, you know, it's a type of verbal abuse. Because you're saying implicitly that you don't love me and you better prove it. So, you know, it interferes with the whole relationship. It's called, you know, it's verbal abuse in a subtle way. To say that if you love me, yeah, and sometimes the husband says that to the wife says to the husband, but it's abuse. And there's a way to reply to it too. You know, I can train up the children how to reply. If your parents say that, you just answer, "What makes you think I don't love you?" They go, "Oh my God." Then you're not dealing directly with the issue. You're dealing with the emotional underlying factor. So remember that. All right? What makes you think I don't love you, Daddy? Or how could you come to such a ridiculous conclusion? Are you in Maya? So we're going to have training for all the young people. How to counteract verbal abuse from the parents.
No, Gurudev, even we adults need that training.
You don't need the training.
We do. Not just kids.
Oh yeah, because with seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it happens on all levels.
Yeah, that's very
You know,
good.
sometimes senior devotees or senior family members, they'll use that same thing.
Yes, same thing.
You know, parents will sometimes say that if you loved us, you would come spend time with us instead of going to the Hare Krishna temple.
And as you said, even husband wives.
Yeah. In all sorts of relationships, this implicit verbal abuse occurs. Anyway, so we'll train up the children so they can rule. Okay, so on that happy note, yeah, they're the future. You're all present and past.
Yeah.
Okay, on that happy note, all glories to Swami Gauri Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.